Okay everyone, so in this next video, I just want to run you through on how we can go and install a local web server such as XAMPP or XAMPP so that you can go and try to test out your projects on your local host or a local web server that will be running in your network. And I just believe that as an introductory course, I really wanted to include this because when I was beginning, I didn't have the luxury of learning this, and I just wanted to share to you guys the things that I had to do some research about before I got some basic information about them. So at least this will be a lot easier on your part, and you'll have an initial idea on what these are and how this will be helping you out in your working environment. So this local web server will be very useful, especially if you start moving forward from front-end development and you will be moving forward to back-end development that will be involving you handling databases such as MariaDB, PHP, and other programming languages that involves you working at the back end of your web application. And XAMPP is free to install. That's a good thing about it. So we just need to go here and click on the ApacheFriends.org website. Go to that site. If you go and try to search XAMPP, you'll find it here. So let me just wait for this to load. So here you would see that we were redirected to the download page, and we can choose the version of XAMPP either for Windows, Linux, or Mac OS. So let's go and try to download the newest version, which is 8.1.2. So let me just download this and save the file. Okay, let's see. So it's around 165 MB here. Let me just pause this for a while until this finishes. Okay everyone, so now we have the newest version for the installation of XAMPP. So let's go and try to click on that. Okay, you would see here that there's just this, because an activated user account control UAC on your system, some functions of XAMPP are possibly restricted. Please avoid to install XAMPP to program files, missing write permission, or deactivate UAC with msconfig after the set. Okay, let's just go and click OK. And now we have here, welcome to XAMPP Setup Wizard. And let's go and click Next. So it has some of the options here. You would see some of the different application together with XAMPP. So we'll have an FTP server, a mail server, Tomcat, Perl. Most of the time we will be using MySQL. Very important, especially if we're going to be working with database. So we can keep all of this by default. So I'm just going to have all of them installed. And we have a XAMPP folder. So let's just go and try to work on this. Okay, so let's see here. So select the folder is not empty. Please select a different folder. Oh, okay. Because I installed this way back before in a XAMPP folder. As you can see, I already have a XAMPP version in my Windows system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a new folder. Sorry for that, guys. But in your case, because this is your first time installing it, I have an older version and I'm reinstalling it right now. So XAMPP2, I'm just going to call this XAMPP2 so that we can utilize this folder. But you don't have to do this. Just take note, I have an older version installed in the system. That's why that's showing me that prompt. Now we have XAMPP control panel for Windows, supports different languages. Let's go and install that now. It also has the Bitnami. As you can see here, Bitnami for XAMPP provides free installers that can install Drupal, Joomla, WordPress, and many other popular open source apps on top of your existing XAMPP installation. So let's just go and click on that. So let's just go and close this. Setup is now ready to begin installing XAMPP on your computer. Let's go and work on that. I'm just going to go and pause this for a while I'm installing the packages for our web server here. Okay everyone, so we can see here that there's a prompt here. Perhaps we will be keeping it private because we won't be publishing our website while we're working with XAMPP. I just want to go and use this locally, so I'll keep it private for now. We can just change those settings if ever you will be wanting other people to gain access to your local web server, because that's possible, especially if you're working with a team in a network, local network. You can go and try to set your local web server here to work on a local network. So let's just go and allow access here. Now you would see here, it says here, setup has finished installing XAMPP or XAMPP on your computer. Do you want to start the control panel now? So let's go and click finish, so that we can be familiarized with some parts of the control panel. And just close that. Okay, so we can see here the control panel. A little bit of introduction with the control panel. We can see here the modules. These are some of the softwares that are part of the XAMPP control panel here. We have Apache Web Server, MySQL, FileZilla. Usually this is for FTP. And we have Mercury, Tomcat, and we have the process IDs. So we also have ports here. So commonly, if we try to start our Apache server, it will start usually on port 80 and port 443. Those are the port numbers that are the default port numbers. But if these are working, let's say another process is using it, we will be given an option to go and set up the config file for using the port that we want to use in exchange for these common ports. So we have the Apache server. We also have our MySQL, which is for databases. If we will be working with databases, and you will see there's a pop-up again here saying that our firewall has blocked some of the features of MySQL.exe. And again, I'm going to keep it private because I'm not going to be working on a public network. So let's just have our web server on a private network so that we can go and work within our local network in our home or in our workplace. So let's go and click on that. Now that our server is running, we can go and open my PHP admin using the admin button here. As you can see, if I click on that, it opens up our local host dashboard for XAMPP. So you can see it opened up a web application with the URL that has the local host dashboard directory. Or you can also go and directly go to your browser. Let's say we have here our local host. We can type here local host dashboard or local host, and that will automatically redirect us to our dashboard here. Now another way to access this will be to write down our IP address for our local web server, which is commonly 127.0.0.1. So you would see our local host is found on that IP address. Okay, and if you go and want to work on a database, you want to create a MySQLi database, you can actually go to phpMyAdmin here, and it will redirect us to the dashboard or the phpMyAdmin directory. So you'll see here, it says 127.0.1 myPHP or phpMyAdmin. That gives us an information on how we can go and try to work on the back-end part of your website if you're going to be moving forward to back-end. So we normally start with front-end development, move to back-end development, then DevOps. So we have here some test we can create a new MySQL database here using this database server. So just take note, when I say database, this is where we can go and store data. So there will be logic. So in HTML, there's no logic. It's more on presentational purposes. If we're going to work with programming languages like PHP, there's logic in it. That's why it's considered to be a programming language. There's logic involved. So for example, a user interacts with the front end, the forms that we have created, and then it will be given the option to go and redirect the data into our database using this server, our server here, the database server that we have here that uses MySQL. So for example, we have a login system. We get some information coming from our users so that they will be signing up using their email and their username, and of course having passwords for those username for authentication. So this database server will be storing those data so that they can go and retrieve those information once they want to log into our website. So we will need to have a connection between the database and our front end, our website, so that most of the information that the user will be inputting or including into the submission of the data that they have using our website will be redirected to the database. So that's how useful having a web server like this will be. And if we go back to our XAMPP control panel here, one good command option here will be the netstat, so that you'll be able to find the address from where your web server is working. So we have here some of information here. We have the process ID, and we also have some port numbers. We have port 80 for the httpd.exe. We have we go down here, we can see that we have some of the processes here that are working, and we know that we are working on 127.0.1, and we can see it here, and it's in the Firefox browser. Okay, and we can also go and try to stop this for a while. As I've said, we can go and try to modify the ports from where this will be working. Now, if you want to go and change port, if for example there's a conflict with regards to the port, a process is using port 80, you can go and try to go to config here and look for Apache httpd.conf. I just want to show you this so at least you'll have an idea if you encounter that error. And you just look down here, we can see that there are comments. The hashtag here or the number sign here signifies a comment, and we can see that this specific server is listening on port 80 here. We can update that. We can make that port 8080, for example, if we are having a conflict with port 80. So let's just go and save that and close this again and run it one more time. You'll see now that it's running on port 8080. Okay, that's just how you go and configure the port number. But in our case, I don't want that to be our port. So let me just go back here and save this and restart. And now we're back to port 80 here. So let's double check if that's working correctly. Let me just open localhost, and no problem with our application here. Now let's just go and try to check the config here. You will see that you can also go and automatically start some of the modules if you want using the configuration of control panel here. So you can start automatically modules for Apache server, MySQL here, for FileZilla, FTP. And other things that I just want to show you here would be, let's just go to our XAMPP directory from where we installed our file here. So if I go to Windows Drive C here, and go to XAMPP2. In your case, it will be XAMPP. I just had a previous version of XAMPP here, XAMPP installed here. So that's why I have another folder right now. So in your case, you will be having this version, XAMPP. And if I go here, what you will be seeing is the htdocs. You need to look for htdocs. And what I normally do is I go and try to pin it on my quick access so that I can easily go back to that specific directory if I want to work on new projects. So let me just unpin this because this is the old version. And this one, I'm going to just right click this and look for pin to quick access so that I can easily go to this. I don't have to go to the directory Windows 10, Drive C, then go to XAMPP2 folder here. So you would see if I go click on this, I'm now in the directory from where XAMPP created it, and it has some basic information here or basic files. You can actually delete all of this, or you can just leave it there if you want. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to go and include the project that we've made and stored in a remote server, the GitHub repository that we have here. As you can see, if you go to your GitHub, you can find this directory depending on what username you have in your GitHub account. You would see here GitHub rodprogramdev. That's my account, and we know that we stored our remote repository in the repository name RBSL site. In your case, depending on how you named your repository, that's where you can find your files on a remote web server like GitHub here. And we can see here that we can go and try to clone the repository into our local machine, or we can download it as a zip file, or you can open it with GitHub Desktop. But you'll need to install GitHub Desktop if you're going to be working with GitHub Desktop. So in this case, I want to download it as a zip file, the version that we were able to finish in our course here. So I'm just going to save this file. I'm going to pause this for a while it's downloading. Oh, okay, it's quite fast. So let's now go get this file. And what I want to do is I would want to go and cut this and go to my htdocs here and go and paste it here. Now we have our site here, and let's go and extract all here. And that will be on htdocs, XAMPP2 or XAMPP2. Extract that here. Now we have our main site. And we have our index.html here. We can go and open this with Firefox. You will see that we have the URL and our website is working using our files that we were able to download from GitHub. Now, if we want to access this using the local web server that we have running here, okay, what we just need to do, just remember, websites that are published on the web are files that we've created in directories. So you'll see here we have the dashboard directory, and if we go back here in htdocs, you will find the dashboard directory, and it has some files here. It has index.html file. That's why this web application has the dashboard directory. That means this is the dashboard directory. We are working with folders. We are working and moving around folders using the URL that we have here. So here we have the dashboard and we have the index.html file. And if we want to go and access our RBSL site -main here, or the site that we've created, that we've transferred to our local web server, we will need to go to that directory. So we know that the folder directory is RBSL site. Let me just double check that. RBSL site here, I'm using camel case. RBSL site main. And if we go and click on that, you would see that we have the directory here. We just need to go to that directory. And now we have our index.html working for us. Okay, so now we have our project working on our local web server. If you're working with a team and you're in a working environment, you can now go and run this local web server and your teammates can actually work on them together with you. But again, the collaboration part, it's much better if you maximize the use of GitHub here for collaboration so that you can go and monitor each other's commits. So if, for example, I'm currently in a new local machine here, you would see this is not my host machine. This is a guest machine that I've created using my local machine here. And I can access the file wherever I go. And that's the good thing about this. And I can monitor if my teammates did some changes to the project that we are working on. And we identify the date. We have some messages here. So I would know where we are right now in our project. If I'm going to be working on some sections of the project, how will I be able to contribute to the team? So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you got some ideas here to initially work with a local web server. I'm sure that in the long run, you will be working with web servers, and at least right now, you got some ideas. You can practice using XAMPP here, XAMPP. Sometimes it's really quite difficult to be pronouncing the name. Some people call it XAMPP, some people call it XAMPP, some people, me personally, before I call it XAMPP. So, but don't worry about the pronunciation. I just wanted to show you here how you can go install a web server in this case. So thank you guys. We now have our site running on a local web server. I hope that you learned something from this lesson.